Dreams are strange, aren't they? They're like little portals into another world, another life, another you. You see, science tends to believe that dreams are just the hyperactivity of the subconscious in the absence of the conscious during sleep. But I'm not so sure. That seems like an excuse to me. I think there's something more to them. My dreams are certainly strange. Strange in the way that they feel very real. But my brain tells me they aren't. Are they glimpses into another version of me? Some alternate universe iteration? Are they visions of a future that could have been if I had made a different choice at a certain time? I don't know. But for all that I could tell, either the dreams are real, or even in this moment right now, we're all just a hallucination. I can no longer tell the difference. You see, the dreams must have started when I was a child. I'm sure they were innocuous, probably playing baseball or riding my bike. I don't remember them. I don't remember my childhood very well at all. It seems now like a completely different life. That's not to say that it was bad, at least not always. But that my dreams fill me with so many new experiences. I'm sure the brain has a maximum capacity like a hard drive. Once it's full, you have to delete the old things to make room for the new. I wish I could delete the dreams. The first one I remember, I was in about high school. I went to my friend Tyler's house after school day. We were going to play video games. Our other friends Zeke and Carlos were coming too. When we arrived, Tyler set up a game called Massacre. The point of the game was for the players to attempt to kill as many monsters as possible in the time allotted in the round. Whoever had the most kills won. Tyler and I played first. The game was vivid and beautiful. I remember being impressed at how real it looked. Until I saw the monsters. Well, they were just people. They didn't even attack the players, they just ran away. I can still hear their screams in my waking hours at times. Tyler won the round. The look of joy on his face felt sinister. It made my stomach turn. He played Zeke next and won that round too. There was a crazed look in his eyes, like he needed more. Next was Carlos. Of course, Tyler won. Sweat rolled down his forehead, I remember. And the controller shook in his hands. He asked me to play him again. I told him that I didn't like that game. That I didn't want to play anymore. Well, he laid the controller on the coffee table and excused himself. Seconds later, he came screaming from the kitchen, running straight at Zeke. Tyler swung his arm down at Zeke's neck. I saw a flash of silver and then heard a wet, sort of ripping sound. Tyler withdrew his arm. Blood sprayed across the room and Zeke fell to his knees, gurgling, choking on his blood. I panicked, ran as fast as I could out the door, but Tyler was in much better shape than me. He tackled me. Carlos came to help and fought him off, but I watched in terror as Tyler overpowered him, and he plunged the knife into his chest over and over and over until Carlos stopped fighting back. Carlos's body convulsed for a moment, and then he was still. Tyler stood and walked toward me slowly. I couldn't move. He plunged the knife into my stomach, and I felt that stab. Then, I woke up. My stomach hurt badly. So I went to wake my mother up and told her I needed to stay home that day. She told me I had to go to school anyway. At lunch, Tyler invited me to his house after school to play video games. Oh, I declined. Well, we didn't really talk much after that. Several years later, I found out through a mutual acquaintance that he had been fired from his job as the manager of the pet store on the east side because several of the pets had gone missing over the years he'd worked there, seemingly with no explanation. I haven't heard any other news about him yet, but, well... Another one of my more memorable dreams came when I was in college. I lived with my girlfriend at the time, an intelligent and hilarious woman named Jasmine. She loved candles. Our apartment always smelled incredible, and if I were to be forced to say something bad about her, it's that any extra time or money she had, it was always on candles. They were everywhere. In the bedroom, the bathroom, the living room, the kitchen. She would even coordinate scents to give each room a distinct atmosphere, as she would call it. One night, I awoke. The smells, they just weren't right. I got out of bed and went to the bathroom. There was a dull orange glow. In my half-awakened state, it really didn't register. But when I came out of the bathroom, the living room was ablaze. I could feel the heat on my face from where I stood at the end of the hallway. I screamed. I turned toward our bedroom and grabbed the door handle. It was hot, and instinctively I let it go. I tried again, but the pain was too great to bear. I kicked the door as hard as I could, hoping to break it open or to wake Jasmine. It worked. I heard her cry out for me. "Nolan!" she cried. "Nolan, the house is on fire!" I told her that I knew. To call 911. That we had to get her out of there. I searched desperately for the fire extinguisher. I tried to use a pot filled with water from the kitchen sink, but it only seemed to anger the flames. Jasmine screamed. I smelled burning hair. I dropped the pot and ran back to the bedroom. I banged on the door and yelled. I grabbed the red-hot knob and tried to turn it, but it wouldn't budge. I tried to pull my hand away, but the melted skin had grafted to the knob. It tore like wet paper. I screamed in agony, and so did Jasmine. I could do nothing but listen to her screams as she was cooked alive. She went silent. I wept, but the heat evaporated my tears. The fire had spread to the kitchen, and then to the hallway. There was no escape. I heard sirens as the fire reached my wool pajamas and engulfed me. When I woke up from that awful dream, the palm of my right hand was red and tender, like it had been sunburned. I talked to Jasmine about the candles. It caused a fight. We ended up breaking up not too long after. 3 years ago, her house burned down. She didn't survive. I wasn't invited to the funeral, but I don't think I would have gone. The dream I had last night was an interesting one as well. Do you want to hear it? I always took the subway to work. Ravenwood Metro. It's not exactly known for being the best underground railroad in the United States, but beats trying to drive all the way across town in that awful morning traffic. Yeah, I knew it was unusual when I was the only one on the platform. And I didn't remember waking up or coming to the station. But for me, that isn't really that unusual. I waited for some time, alone with my thoughts in the silence of the empty station. Eventually, the train rolled in, slow and screeching. That horrible sound echoed loudly in the cavernous space. The doors creaked open. I boarded the car, and it was empty too. Well, almost empty. One man sat alone at the end of the car. I sat at the opposite end, facing toward him. He looked up at me, and we made eye contact. There was something off about him. It made me very uneasy. I almost tried to get off the train, but just as I twitched, the doors closed much faster than they had opened, and we began to move. He kept staring at me. I looked out the window and watched the endless flashes of dirt and metal as the train sped to the next station. Wouldn't be a long ride, I told myself. More people would get on at the subway. The car would fill, and the man would find someone else to stare at. That didn't happen. I don't know how long that ride lasted. We never stopped at another station. The man stared at me the entire time. Each time I would look away from the window to check, he would be closer. Until, finally, he took the seat directly across from me. He stared into my eyes, and I couldn't look away. Trying to turn my head made my neck feel like it would break, and my muscles screamed out in pain. The man spoke to me. He told me that he knew I had dreams. I told him this was one of them. He told me that it wasn't. I asked him what he meant, and he laughed until my head felt like it would split. He told me that the only way to make them stop is to find the dream walker. He told me that I was an open door that needed to be closed. He smiled at me, and his teeth looked like a shark's. The train came to a halt. The man stood up and said that this was his stop. He offered me a hand to shake, which I accepted. But when he pulled his hands away, mine was left soaking wet. He walked through the open doors, and I woke up. To think I almost didn't take the train today. But I did. And I met you.
And do I look anything like that man? The one with the shark smile?
No, I don't think I would have spoken to you if you did.
That's probably smart. What do you think it means? The dream, the dream walker.
Well, there's no way to be sure. Might mean nothing. The conversation may have never really happened. This conversation may not even be happening right now, for all I know. My sense of reality is spiraling.
I assure you, this conversation is very real.
That's what they always say.
So, what made you want to talk to me, then?
I've seen you in my dreams, too.
What?
You've never actually played a leading role, but I have noticed you in my dreams. Many of them, actually.
But what? That doesn't make any sense.
Nothing does anymore. At least not to me.
But I've never seen you before today. You sat next to me. You spoke to me like you've always known me. You recognized me as soon as you saw me?
Why, yes.
But if you knew me, what made you approach me? Why didn't you just assume that this was another dream?
Because in the dreams, you never talk back. I had to check if this time was real, or at least if I was awake.
But what? What?
Now approaching downtown?
Huh? This is my stop. It's been a pleasure to finally meet you. What did you say your name was again?
Eli.
Right. Sorry. Names are difficult for me these days. Hopefully we meet again in the future, Eli. Preferably outside my dreams.
I'm sure we will.
Now departing for Union Central.
Man, am I glad I had the recorder for that. Nolan had some very interesting stories. God, I can't imagine having dreams like that every night. I'll do some follow-up and see if I can't figure out more about this mysterious man with a shark-like smile. I'm supposed to be working on my article. I covered the opening of this art gallery downtown. Some big-name famous guy owned it. The editors were falling all over themselves to get coverage. I thought it was all very come in?
Hey, Eli, you doing okay?
Yeah, Frankie, I'm just fine.
Well, I just wanted to check on you. I saw you sneaking into your office. I know you're never late, so...
There was just a delay on the metro today.
Oh, yeah? Well, glad you made it in.
Thanks.
How's the story coming along?
Great. Just, trying to work on it right now.
Oh, right. You don't have to tell me twice. Well, I'll let you get to it then. See you later, bud.
See you around, Frankie. Anyway, I feel like I'm getting closer. Every new story I hear, it adds another piece to the puzzle of Ravenwood. The picture isn't exactly getting clearer yet, but it will in time. I'll figure out what's going on in this town, even if it kills me.